Hey, this is Rob from the Whiskey Edition. We're outside of 12th Hawaii Distiller. We had a nice conversation with Dave Puckett about his distillery and how he distills his honey into distillate for his Honey Shine Distiller Special coffee distillate with Kona coffee beans, and we'll be trying those here in a few minutes. And I've also got some of the footage from a brief tour from his small distillery inside here, and it's very interesting how he does it. So stand by.
Got that because I couldn't get the blonde in the bikini to stir the pot. The bubble plates, the deflagrator, and the second condenser.
So you can vary the number of stages then?
Yes, I can if I want to. When I do the stripping run for the vodka, I take all the plates out and I only put 3 columns on. I take this tube off and then this drops down a little bit lower. And stripping run is just a process. You know, it's not really very much skill at all involved. You just keep this cold, and I'll get 11 gallons out of 45 gallons. You know, and that's at 100 proof.
Yeah.
But it's really nasty. Sometimes it's cloudy. Sometimes it's, you know, so it needs to be run again. And then I run it through the 6 bubble plate column here. Well, that one's direct elements in direct contact with the mash, and I can put that motor to agitate on that still. I got to be real careful when I'm building it that it doesn't tip it over. But and then run this one low and slow, and it takes all day to do 25 gallon run. I'll get maybe how much did I get out of it? 6 gallons. And I put it in the spirit safe, and then keep track of it. I have a software program too, but I also have an app on my phone that tells me that I gotta know exactly how much I got in there. I can test it to see what proof it is because of the different batches, and then I go to my little app called the Spiritualator.
So this spirit safe, that is a required item then?
No, it's if I was to buy a bigger still that had like some of them have what they call a spirit safe on it.
Okay.
So you have a knob like this to control whether your head's cut where it's going. That'll go to a smaller tank, and you flip a thing, and then it's going into the spirit safe. And then when you keep track with your software program, then you know what fruit you got in there. For this one here, in my Spiritualator, I just say 10 gallons of, let's say, 90% alcohol, and I want to get it down to 50% alcohol. How many gallons of water do I need to add?
8.451. Interesting. Well, that's okay. That chemistry dilution thing always just,
Yeah. And then there's a contraction too. So alcohol and the water molecules, when they mix together, they become smaller. So you lose some volume. You can't just take those gallons and add it up. It's not very much, but you know.
Yeah.
Let's say I had 45 gallons in there, I'd lose 1 gallon of for the contraction.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's kind of,
Yeah.
well,
like I said, my chemistry and all that. So 120 pounds of honey.
Yeah, in 1 barrel.
In one barrel.
Yeah. I've used 2 buckets. 2 buckets and 35 gallons of water up to about here. And then enzymes snip the long chain sugars of the honey, make it more readily available for the yeast to eat. I put 150 grams of yeast, which is a lot. But
You use like a brick of yeast, or is it
a brick is 500 grams. So I weigh out and put into baggies, you know, for each load. So I keep the bricks hard, you know, and fresh. I'm supposed to get some.
That's funny. I used to work at Shakey's Pizza.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And when we'd make dough, the yeast was in a brick. That's the only reason I knew it was is it a brick, or is it just, you know, because you go to a store and it's Fleischmann's and it's just like a little bitty.
And so this distiller's yeast, dry yeast, and they put it in a brick so that it stays fresh. There's no water in there.
Yeah. So the 3 barrels, 2 into the middle, the water tank.
Yeah.
And then the cold water tank.
Yeah, that's just for the condensers on the stove.
Oh, okay.
So that plumbing runs down the wall into a pump there, and then up that black insulated line.
Okay.
It's hot in here.
I was going to say, you can feel it. You need to keep
the water comes out of the spigot at 80 degrees.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
cold enough to do
Yeah.
alcohol condensing, you know?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
You don't even realize that that's an issue here because you know.
I can distill year round where lots of people are too cold, they can't get that to work off, and so they don't distill during the winter, or, you know. So this, I'm pretty blessed with this, and then we have 3 very large queen bee manufacturers here on the island. So they manufacture, you know, they grow queen bees.
Oh.
And the honey is a byproduct of them.
Huh.
So there's lots and lots of honey on this island, literally tons of honey.
You know, it's funny you should mention that. As I was, all the flowers and the foliage, I'm like, well, they gotta have bees for this.
Yeah.
Because we have murder hornets now up in Washington. You know, they're big, huge fuckers that take out the, you know, and they're Asian. So I don't know how they could get here, but you know, when that happens, there's almost, they need to be prepared somehow for that.
And we got something that just came about 15 years ago called the Aurora mite, and it ended up here, and it's just a little mite, a little red dot on the abdomen of the bee, and it'll kill them. And then they got a hive beetle, and so these big companies that raise the queens, they spray their hive. That's why I don't get my honey from them.
Oh,
There's chemicals in it.
Okay.
And I get my honey from a guy who's got a couple hundred hives, and he treats his bees like family. So
yeah, that's good.
yeah, already we have the world's strongest bee, and we're part of the separated landmass in the world. But
I just had 2 questions.
sure.
Or maybe a statement and question. Oak barrels,
Oak barrels.
2 into 1. What's the stave that you put in there? You told me, and I couldn't.
Yeah, Kiawe, Texas mesquite.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not really a stave, but I take
Okay.
this branch like this, and I take the bark off, and then I chisel it big enough to fit in the hole.
Okay.
I char it myself and drop it in there.
Okay.
There's about 2 pounds of this wood in each barrel.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was like a Hawaiian wood.
It is, but it's Texas mesquite grown here.
Oh, okay.
And I'm riding on the Hawaiian coattail by calling it Kiawe.
Good.
The federal government actually said, what's Kiawe? And I had to get a Webster's dictionary. I had to pay for an excerpt out of a Webster's dictionary.
Oh, no kidding.
For the
Wow.
word Kiawe.
Gabi it is. That's fair.
There's a few contract distillers out there like that. I've
Well,
considered
MGP
it, but,
is
yeah.
like giant
Yeah, so
in the.
for me, it's like, it's not a hassle, but it takes a little while to get your stuff approved, you know?
Well, it seems like what, depending on where you are in size,
Yeah.
everybody starts with vodka, and then they buy MGP aged,
Yeah.
and then they say this is our aged,
Right.
and that's why I like this because it's yours.
Yeah, it's mine.
And
It's all distilled right here.
It's all distilled here.
Truth, 90% of us craft distillers use Newfoundland grain spirits.
Yeah.
And distill a little bit and blend it. You know what I mean? But I don't know, I'm just a purist, you know what I mean? And it's like, no, I'm distilling every drop right here, you know? These people got into the distillery business to make money. I'm like, that's fine, you know? You read my story online, and it's, you know, it says, distilling to me isn't just a process, it's a skill and art, a passion. You know what I mean? It's fun. Bring your biggest smile across your face when you build a distill yourself and you see that first trickle come out of there. It's like, oh man, here, grin, you know? That's another thing for me. It's 10,000 to 12,000 bottles a year, depending on how my sales are going. Well, I have just a bunch of merchandise stacked up, you know?
Yeah.
So 10,000 bottles a year. I need to sell 1 bottle to every 20 people on this island. 1 out of 20 once a year. That's my limit. So it's like, just focus my advertising here, you know what I mean?
But
Get kind people like you to walk in and buy something, you know? And,
well, and I'll spread the word on my not viewed very often channel, but you know.
when you're in Hawaii, stop by Hawaii.
Well, hey, I'll get out of your hair and
All right.
I will.
Great talking to you.
You too.
Come on back.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.